just with this cruise ship that's popped up here in the last day or so, with this outbreak that's happened, and I guess I've got a case somewhere in Germany. This goes back to 2020. It goes back another 12 years, goes back another 20 years, goes back another 30 years. I don't go on cruise ships because of the many situations that go with them, as much with the foods, the excitement, the energy, as many people collectively get together, all walks of life, come on the ships. As all these times that have gone on, even the COVID outbreak that happened, the same symptoms always come up with flu-like fever, muscle aches, fatigue, gastro, nausea, diarrhea, dizziness, kidney, heart, many situations, breathing, respiratory, oxygen. And oxygen's the one is the biggest thing. But depending on where your health status is at and where your frequency rides and, your nervous system, how you've been looking after yourself. We get on these trips and the foods and the motion of the ocean. And, we have frequencies. I've talked about them before. One of the biggest thing out there on the ocean to make sure you're wired in is you've got the, 5G environment. And so with water and currency and frequency, our bodies change drastically in different environments. If we're in fear level, if we're in love, where our bodies are at in the time. A lot of people that go on these trips, they're excited to get on there and go through these times. Food sits out longer. Our bodies adjust. We go to other places, other countries, a place like Mexico. You hear about it all the time that people get sick in this. First and foremost is that when you're getting on these trips, you got to prep to get yourself up and feeling good to go there. As many vitamins, there's many different situations that, we need to do. But a lot of people that get on the holidays, they get fatigued because of the life that they've been living here in the matrix end of it all. They're under stress, they're under pressure. They need a holiday. They go on these trips to get away. But when we do this stuff, we get on bodies of water and we get in different frequencies, we get in different energies, motions of the boat, different people, different scenarios that happen. These type of situations break out, but there is always a solution and a cure without getting too panicked and upset. The Montezuma revenge, many different names have been put out there for many different situations, but fear comes in and everybody gets a little upset and a little out of control on how this goes. And I've been witnessing and watching this thing for centuries. You just need to let your body readjust and get that water in you, get the vitamins, change your dietary, find what's stressing you, and not to lose yourself in this. This has been the biggest thing that I've been talking about, raising up the consciousness so that these types of energies and these things that you can enjoy these types of situations that go on. But I've known many personally that have gone on these types of trips and have had a rough time. And they're not for the fainted at times when it comes time to, the adjustments. Even just like that, taking off there right now. There's always something that hinders the interference of the vibration of your body. So cue the plane here for a minute. They're going to go up in the air, and they're their energy is going to change a little bit too. Our bodies have to adjust. And if we haven't done something for a long time, these things do happen. But the thing is that when we get in a collective, when we get in these smaller environments, it affects everybody. Just like that there, it comes right through the speaker, comes through to you, and you hear it too. These things happen. And when we get in with a group on a boat, and we're at sea, it's a big city in itself. A lot of things are happening. So these type of situations can happen from time to time. But there is a cure and a way out without getting too worked up about it. So drink plenty of water. Look after your health. That's first and foremost. Look after your diet. Get the plenty of rest that you need. Get the vitamins and all the minerals and impurities that you need. Cleanses. Because that is one of the biggest things, that even on these trips, your body starts cleansing because it goes into a mode, and sometimes into a protection mode, and so we just have to reset ourselves. And that's usually the first and foremost. Just reset yourself, put yourself at ground zero, and start finding the things that work and the things that don't work in your life, and love, and look for that brighter shining light, and don't get feared in the commotion of the chaos of a few things that have happened many, many, many times before. There's always a greater plan, and it always works itself out in the end. One of the other things also is, we've had many words for the same kind of symptoms. Coronavirus, as I said a couple minutes ago, the Montezuma revenge, we've had E. coli, we've had all kinds of different flus and fevers, COVID. They're just names. But when you look at all the same symptoms on every single one of them, it's always the same. It's no different than when you look at a medicine bottle and you look at all what that medicine can do to you. You go to the doctor, what it can prescribe to you. There's always, can have diarrhea, can have nausea, can have an upset stomach, can have heart failure, can have fatigue, could have kidney, liver, all this type of stuff that comes up. And it's always the same situation that comes up in all of these names and situations that arise. And it gets your brain thinking. And it starts putting an overload and gets you panicking. You don't need to panic, first of all, because they're just situations and them covering themselves of what can happen. But depending on what that is, if you got a fever, if you got you're feeling fluish, you've got the diarrhea, you've got, different situations happening inside you. And that's your body working through it. And sometimes we've got to work through some of this. Our body needs to recalibrate itself. It's making big adjustments. And so I've been listening to these names for a very long time. All the same, but it's always the same thing that happens. And usually just needs a little bit of time to work itself out. But some of our bodies and some of the people and some of the situations that are happening more and more now is because of them not looking after themselves. The different types of foods, the stuff that's in their systems. And unfortunately, it puts on a bigger volume to people. Because it's like maybe they haven't seen it. But this is the problem with people that have shut themselves down to life, and stayed in the dark on many things and keep resetting. And right now I've been watching that in the world with the reset of people's minds every single day because they don't want to look at the reality. They don't want to look at the truth. They don't want to look at real. Everybody's gone off into another little world somewhere far away. Then they pop up for a second to look at this stuff and they hear a name and a big name and panic goes off. It's not to panic anymore. These names have been around for a long time, and somebody just wants to have some big name in front of it all. But it always comes back to the same symptoms all the time. And for centuries now, there's been cures to work on all of these different scenarios that have up and come. But the problem is, like I said a minute ago, it's the resetting of the mind all the time. And there's stuff out there that keeps doing this. It's swinging you back and acting like you never seen it before, like you got dementia. You got to start looking beyond and past just that word and see what it is and see where it's coming from and who's putting it out there. Do that for me. Because if this keeps going on, as it's been, like in my last video, the world's getting sicker and mental. And if we keep doing this every time we turn around, there will not be a society left. They will be raptured out. And this will be done. Because we cannot go on this path or course any longer. And my 144 and all my angels are here on the earth right now, observing, watching, because this has gone on way too long with what keeps arising with this every morning reset, like you just came here today. Many of you have been here for a very long time. And this isn't going to keep resetting every single day to change the narrative any longer. We have to start focusing in. We need to start being those ones to rise up for the generations that are here, because they're walking around lost. And they don't need to be fed all the fear of all this any longer. What they need is they need to know that more people are like-minded and raising up and want to be more of the enjoyment and the love and the life that is here on the earth for them to experience, not to be dragged back into the dogma all day long with the fear, of the unknown and the fear of just staying hidden and letting life pass away. I give you the ability every single morning to rise up with the sun, even if the sun isn't standing there because it's behind a mass amount of clouds. As another topic to talk about, there's many things out there that are happening, but you shut yourself off to everything on the world right now, and many have. And like I said, the world is in a mental apparel and very sick at the moment when it comes time to how we keep doing this. And it ain't going to go away. And it ain't going to change until people start being the change. Because there's always going to be something trying to come out there to get you. But as soon as we change this, there'll be less of this calling all the time. Because there's always going to be darkness, and there'll always be something out there trying to get in. And once we get to a point where we're rising up and we're above it, there's less of that to come in and rob your life, rob your soul, rob your spirit, and rob all the others around you. It's like a Christmas light. The string, 25 bulbs. They get dull if they're all not on. Once you start putting them on, they get brighter and vibrant. And the more people they get like that, and the brighter it gets, the nicer it is. I know a lot of people like seeing nice colors. And that's what many are here on the earth at this moment. But a lot of light's getting dimmed by staying in this fear consciousness, this mental status, and the falling into the 2D realm. To be that shining light. Till the next one. Love, like, share, and comment. Love you lots. Have a blessed, wonderful day. See you on the next one.